You know what, guys? Let's take it easy on book talk while we're at it, okay? Like sometimes people just need some lighthearted smut to read before bed. And I don't think that's the end of the world. Everyone loves being like, oh my God, look at the age gap in this book. Oh my God, this is a cop sleeping with someone that he saved. This is so morally, it's so pearl clutchy. Dave Franco was fucking shocking. I don't know what his performance notes were, but he consistently seems drunk, even when he's not meant to be, and kind of like low key doesn't want to be here vibes. So he'll be like, oh my God, I wish we could be together. But like the dichotomy of the situation we find ourselves in is like, it's just so hard. Right. So I just got back from Greece, and as someone who sees 3 to 4 movies at the cinemas a week, being away from the theaters, like I was definitely having some withdrawals. So when I got back, I made like a triple feature. All right. So yesterday I saw 3 movies back to back. And the first one was Regretting You. This was the first movie I had after not going to the movies for ages. And everyone was telling me, why are you seeing Regretting You? Haven't you seen what people are saying online? It's terrible. Oh my God. And guys, I'm going to be honest. I actually didn't think it was that bad. Wait. Now, hear me out. I don't think this is Shakespeare. I don't think this is an awards contender. But if you are looking for a movie that's just a bit of fun, just a bit of lighthearted, book talk sort of fun, it's not that bad, all right? And I am going to like stand on my little soapbox today and defend it a little, because I think people are being hyperbolic. I think they're being intentionally obtuse, and I think they are trying to hate this movie. Dare I say, I actually thought this was overall a better movie going experience than It Ends With Us, all right? I think this movie is relatively harmless, relatively charming. There is some goofy shit, all right? There is some cringe in here. Let's just get it out of the way, all right? Mason Thames' character, I think that's how you say his name. He's a really good actor, all right? The whole movie, he's sucking on lollipops. Like, you know that they thought this guy was just like so hot, all right? Like every 2 seconds, he's like, you know, at one point she goes to kiss him and she pops out his lollipop. Like, the lollipops are a lot, all right? The lollipops are a lot. On top of that, Dave Franco's performance here is something to behold. Like, go see this movie just for Dave Franco completely phoning it in. It's absolutely hilarious. I don't know what his direction was in this movie, and I know Dave Franco is a decent actor, but there are so many points in this movie where he has to be like, oh my God, I wish we could be together, but the situation we find ourselves in, it's so tough. And like the dichotomy of the situation we find ourselves in, it's a combination of like awful cringe dialogue and awful performance, but I have no clue what was going on with Dave Franco in this movie. If you don't know, the basic setup for this movie is it's sort of, I guess, a friends to lovers double feature. You have adults falling in love and kids falling in love, but the basic setup here is that there's like 2 couples, all right? They're sisters, all right? So there's a pair of adult sisters played by Alison Williams and Willa Fitzgerald from Strange Darling. So these sisters both have husbands or partners or whatever, and then basically it's found out that there's a car crash and 2 of them die, but they were having an affair. So it's like Alison Williams' husband was sleeping with her sister, and they both die in a car crash while they're having an affair. I don't know if it was roadhead or what happened, but like that's the basic setup here. And as a result, our main character, Clara, played by McKenna Grace, who is getting unfairly hated on, she has now lost her father and her auntie. And while this is all happening, she forms a romance with Mason Thames, which I guess is meant to be like the local bad boy, but he's actually like completely fine and normal. Like he's actually kind of chill, all right? Like every couple days, he like moves a sign a little further because he wants a pizza shop to deliver to his local area or something. So he needs to like push the state line because the pizza shop doesn't deliver past the state line. So he like picks up this state line sign and moves it back. All right, look, there are some things that clearly don't translate from the book well to the screen, and I think that's a lot of what's going on here. All right, I think Colleen Hoover is someone who makes campy, trashy, fun romance novels. And I think sometimes when you adapt these to the movies and you get a cinema audience, I think people are really kind of like going into it being like, well, this isn't an Oscar contender. I spent $20 to come to the movies. What the fuck is this? And I just think sometimes you need to just take your foot off the gas, all right? Do I think Regretting You is a really good examination of grief and familial trauma? No, all right? I don't. I do not think this is a particularly amazingly written movie. Do I think, however, every single woman in my audience, every single mum and daughter that came and saw this movie had a good time? Yes. And I know that because they were all laughing and giggling. And as we were leaving the theater, everyone had a good time. So I would actually say, if you're interested in this movie, actually just give it a chance. Ignore TikTok. There's a lot to hate. There's a lot to laugh at. There is some AMC product placement that is absolutely unbelievable in this movie, all right? Mason Thames works at the cinema. And you know what? This is a moment where product placement actually makes sense. Him working at AMC theaters is fine. They also have movie posters. They also have movie posters for movies that are coming out soon, like Running Man. I'm like, oh, what a smart way to do product placement. However, there's a point where he literally like brings out a snack board and every single popcorn tin has AMC, like Experience Movies Better, facing down the barrel of the camera. And then he goes, this popcorn is the perfect combination of salty and buttery. Like it's a lot, all right? There is some cringe stuff, but if you look past that, this is basically just a pretty good Desperate Housewives episode. It's trashy. It moves pretty fast. Every like 10 to 15 minutes, there was something that had me going, wait, what? What? Like, and that's okay, all right? Sometimes you can just see a decently fun movie. I'm not saying that if you're not interested in this movie, you need to change your mind and go see it. What I am saying is if you like these fun, trashy romance books, this is a decent adaptation. I think McKenna Grace is getting unfairly hated on. I actually don't know if it's just because she's pretty or something. Like, why are people bashing her? She's a perfectly fine actress. I think Mason Thames is actually quite good in this movie, and he manages to be charming and charismatic enough that he transcends the cringe shit that the script has him doing. Like, despite the cringe lollipop and despite some of the dialogue, he manages to come out of this movie relatively unscathed. He also is having an amazing summer. Between this, How to Train Your Dragon, and Black Phone, I think he's setting some record that hasn't been done since Jim Carrey. But I actually want to shout out Alison Williams, all right? She plays the mum of McKenna Grace's character. I actually thought she was pretty good in this movie. I have always liked Alison Williams. I think she always jumps on the knife and plays particularly unlikable characters. She did that in Girls, and she's doing that here at times. And I actually thought she's pretty layered and put in a good performance. Again, there is some cringe stuff. There is some de-aging work with Alison Williams and Dave Franco. They have some flashbacks together. And like, yeah, the CGI age smoothing is pretty wonky. There's some cringe dialogue here or there. But guys, I'm going to be honest. I've seen a lot worse movies, all right? Materialist was an interesting movie because it was very well made. It looked gorgeous. It had some really great performances and some really good writing moments, but it almost felt like an audience betrayal movie. I don't think it completely held together. Regretting You is kind of a different beast, right? Because it starts kind of cringe and lame and like, where's this going? And you temper your expectations, sit back and go, okay, I'm just going to watch a Desperate Housewives episode. And it never really betrays the audience. If you meet it at its level, you just can have a decent time with it, all right? And what I want to say is, if you like Ginny and Georgia, I actually think this is scratching the same itch. This is the first movie that I think has kind of scratched the same itch Ginny and Georgia set up. So hear me out. My defense of Ginny and Georgia's cringe moments were that when it was around the younger daughter, Ginny, it was kind of a high school show. It was a show that was made for high schoolers. And when it was following Georgia, it was a more adult show. And I think it was jumping between, and it almost felt like a show designed for mums and daughters to watch together. So mums get something out of it when it's about Georgia, and young women get something out of it when it's around Ginny, right? And watching Regretting You, I kind of got the same vibe. The adult drama felt rather adult at times. Like, yes, a kid's version of adult drama. And the kids stuff felt like really sweet high school stuff. And you know what? I'm going to get on my soapbox again. I thought there was a portrayal around virginity and your first time and consent that I actually thought was like well portrayed, dare I say. I thought it was properly sweet, properly tender, and I thought, dare I say, a good example of consent that didn't feel overdone or really poorly or strangely or clunkily written or delivered. I was like, oh, this is a really good example of how to navigate this situation and still be charming and not break the tension. Like, I just thought it was good. I thought it was good. On top of that, the plot here is insane, all right? You are sitting there watching. You can feel Colleen Hoover's writing, right, from the book, her like sort of puppet mastering these characters, being like, okay, I want this forbidden romance between Alison Williams, a recently widowed woman, and Dave Franco, a recently, is it widowed? Like what's he? All right, he lost his wife. I don't know what the term is, but they've both lost their partner, right? And you can feel the scriptwriter, this puppet master, being like, okay, I want them to get together and I want the audience to root for that, even though you're probably not going to root for that. So we need to make sure that you root for that. So turns out their partners were actually terrible people and they're actually really good people. On top of that, maybe they've loved each other the whole time. Maybe there's actually a slow burn romance that's been building on in the background and you just didn't know. Like, you can feel the plot mechanics stretching, but again, at the same time, this isn't a David Fincher movie. And that's where I want to talk about this unfair bashing of BookTok books. All right. So now we have to talk about books for a bit. Personal anecdote. I was on Greece. We were going on massive hikes. And, you know, after being with someone on your honeymoon for ages, you eventually run out of stuff to talk about, all right? Like, we were together for 3 weeks, 24 hours a day. I'm like, yo, what if we listen to a book while we're hiking? So we listened to Project Hail Mary, which is this science fiction. It's been adapted into a movie starring Ryan Gosling. Now, the reason I bring all this up is for the first, 3 hours of this audiobook, I was like, God, this is really baby's first science fiction. It's really moving things along. A problem will be presented and literally 5 seconds later, the problem's solved. It feels very juvenile in its science fiction portrayal. And then after a while, I just sat back and took the work for what it was, and I had a really good time. And I think it's going to be a fun PG-13 science fiction film. Not everything needs to be Stanley Kubrick's 2001: A Space Odyssey. The reason I say this is because you look at Gone Girl, all right? Look at the adaptation of Gone Girl. That's directed by David Fincher, one of our best filmmakers. And what David Fincher did was he didn't even elevate the material. He met the material at its level and made it as good as possible. He took this page turner, right? This book that was selling out at Walmart's at the checkout aisle and gave it as dignified adaptation as possible. It was clinical, it was cold, it was a demented, fantastic movie. It's one of the best movies of the 21st century. And it takes melodrama completely seriously. He applies the same serious lens to Gone Girl that he does the Zodiac Killer. And it's fantastic. But not every adaptation needs to be this serious, depressing recontextualization of everything. Sometimes you can have an adaptation that is just trying to be a bit of lighthearted fun, and I think that's what Regretting You is. All right, yes, it's not winning any awards. It's definitely not winning. It's definitely not winning any performance Oscars. It's definitely not winning any writing Oscars. But guys, for a fun time at the movies, it's perfectly fine. If you're not into romance, if you can't turn your brain off, sit back and just enjoy these tropes, don't go see this movie, all right? People going to see this movie and then being surprised that it's cliched and a bit cheesy, I don't know what to tell you. And dare I say, it kind of reeks of sexism, all right? I remember when 50 Shades of Grey was coming out, and I don't think 50 Shades of Grey is a perfect movie, but I also don't think it's the dumpster fire, at least the first one, that people acted like it was, all right? It's a little cringe, but there's some effective cinematography and some decent smutty scenes in that movie. But I think the issue, I remember even as a young guy, I remember everyone's response to 50 Shades of Grey, even without seeing the movie, even as it was coming up, it kind of reeked of oh, women like this, we need to bash this. We need to shit on this. Oh, there was all this discourse around, this isn't what women really like. Oh, no one's into this. I'm like, what are you talking about? This was an international bestseller. On some level, this is resonating with people. And the reason I say this about Regretting You is I've seen countless video essays from people I like. I really like this creator. She did this video about the Colleen Hoover effect and oh my God, all these. And there are a lot of book adaptations that suck, but this woman hadn't even seen Regretting You, and Regretting You just isn't that bad. It's relatively inoffensive. There's some sweet stuff, and frankly, every 5 minutes I was going, wait, what? Just have fun with it. I have nothing else to say than that, other than just I think it reeks of some inherent, we need to hate this, we need to rag on this, gross sexist attitudes. Frankly, I don't particularly like it, and I'm not saying this movie's perfect, all right? I'm giving it a 6 out of 10. There are a lot of problems. I'm just saying, if you can turn your brain off and go see a Marvel movie where it deals with the same tropes every single time. Oh my God, there's a laser beam in the sky. Oh my God, good guy punches bad guy and saves the day again. If you can deal with these like cinematic conventions in other genres, I think it's really annoying that romance always gets bashed. You know, there was a trailer going into this movie for the Sydney Sweeney, Amanda Seyfried. I think it's called The Housemaid. I'm going to read that before that movie comes out. But that looked like it was taking the tone of A Simple Favor. So it's not this super grounded, gritty Gone Girl sort of movie, but it's also not as cheesy as, say, Regretting You. It's somewhere in between, sort of like A Simple Favor, where it's a bit of fun, but also a bit of scandalous fun. You get what I mean? Like a more campy Big Little Lies. And watching that trailer, I was like, that looks pretty good. I can't wait for the discourse to be utterly cooked around this time. I can't wait for every single YouTube video essay person to be like, oh, time to make bank, and say that like, oh, yep, it's the BookTok effect. And you know what, guys? Let's take it easy on BookTok while we're at it, okay? Like, sometimes people just need some lighthearted smut to read before bed. And I don't think that's the end of the world. Everyone loves being like, oh my God, look at the age gap in this book. Oh my God, this is a cop sleeping with someone that he saved. This is so morally, it's so pearl clutchy. It's just clear escapism. And I just think frankly, who gives a shit? There's way worse stuff out there. There is like insane pornography on the internet that is way more degrading than what the fucking high schoolers and college girls are reading from BookTok. And I just think this hate is forced. I think it's lame, and I'm kind of over it. So yeah, Regretting You. How do I feel about it? It's pretty good, all right? It's not amazing. I saw 3 movies yesterday, all right? I saw Regretting You, Roofman, and Begonia. Regretting You was comfortably the worst movie of that bunch. In terms of my ranking at the end of the year, Regretting You is going to be right in the middle. But as tempting as it would be to be like, oh, I regret seeing Regretting You. Regretting You, the only thing I regret is this movie. Ha 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 ha. It's just not that bad, all right? And the same thing happened with It Ends With Us. If you talk to people that saw It Ends With Us, didn't know anything about the Colleen Hoover hate or anything about the Bring Your Florals, if you just spoke to someone who saw it, most people are like, yeah, it was all right. It was okay. It wasn't perfect. For me, I didn't think it was the world's best portrayal of DV, but I also don't think it ever was going to be. All right, like, and that's kind of okay. I think it was Baby's first portrayal. I think it was a way for people to open the door to conversations around that. But no, I also don't think it was trying to be a particularly traumatizing or super heady, conceptually smart movie. It was trying to be Baby's first exploration. For some people, that might be a little lame, but I also think for some people, they need to have their eyes opened. It is a good stepping stone into this sort of stuff. And I think at the same time, where that movie faltered was it was also trying to be a fun girls' night out movie. And sometimes those things don't work. Regretting You, on the other hand, you need to go into it with your expectations of like, okay, this is a campy Desperate Housewives episode. I am watching a movie where the plot mechanics are going to literally like transformulate to make sure that you can root for all these new couples that are forming despite the shaky grounds they're built on. But like, I don't know, man. When I'm sitting there in an audience and every single mother-daughter combo there is having a really good time, despite what the internet is doing, and I actually had a pretty good time, I was sitting there, guys. I wish, all right, because it would be so good for the views that I could have sat down this morning and be like, this was the worst piece of shit ever. But I don't even have that stuff. I don't even have that much stuff to say about the plot because the plot was fine. It was silly and over the top, but you kind of go along with it and you're like, yeah, okay, whatever. You know, I think maybe that's what it's all about. All right, there's some cringe shit. I would cut the lollipops. Oh, on top of that, there is this pineapple on pizza gag that I absolutely hated. It keeps popping up. This pineapple on pizza thing. Alan started it. I'm just gonna say it. All right, ever since I was young. Since I was like 5, all right, you would have pizza lunches at school and they would get margarita, they would get like an Aussie pizza, and then they would get Hawaiian. And Hawaiian has pineapple on it. And then randomly, when I was 17, everyone's just like, oh my God, do you like pineapple on pizza? Oh my God, what's the one thing I hate? You know, when they're filling out their Tinder bio, it's like, if you like pineapple on pizza, we can't be friends. If you don't like pineapple on pizza, we can't be friends. And you keep going to movies and it's like bad screenwriting 101. They're like, oh, how do we have these people have banter? I know. What do you think of pineapple on pizza? Dude, that is what made me regret you. That was like fucking, oh my God. And the movie ends on a pineapple on pizza gag. Like they bring it up midway. And there's like a MCU post-credit scene for regretting you that brings up pineapple on pizza. But aside from the pineapple on pizza, this movie was fine. This movie was fine. McKenna Grace was good. Alison Williams was good. Dave Franco was fucking shocking. And one of my favorite parts about this movie is there's a point where he's like got his shirt. He's in like a t-shirt. He looks really good. His arms are popping. He's like he's a hunky dude. I was like, oh, I didn't know he was packing that much muscle. And then for the rest of the movie, he's dressed like a divorced dad. It's hysterical. They like make him less sexy. And I don't know what his performance notes were, but he consistently seems drunk, even when he's not meant to be, and kind of like low-key doesn't want to be here vibes. So he'll be like, oh my God, I wish we could be together, but like the dichotomy of the situation we find ourselves in is like, it's just so hard. I'm like, who was giving this guy direction? Because it's not working at all. But aside from that, it was fine. It was fine. It was a fine movie. Whatever. All right. 6 out of 10. Thank you so much for watching, everyone. If you enjoyed this video, please consider getting a membership to this channel. I talk about every single movie and TV show I've seen in a given week or fortnight. For the cost of a cup of coffee, you get access to me waffling on about old movies I've watched, new movies I've watched, rom-com, horror, action, whatever, as well as TV shows or reality shows as well. It's a fun little yap. So if you like me, you should get it. Thank you so much for watching, everyone. I'm glad to be back, and have a lovely day. Thank you.